Hey, so for a while now, there has been a lot of talk around what AI is going to do for developers, how it's going to change the developer landscape, how in the future these things will be different. But not a lot of talk ever comes around to how exactly are these things changing in real time in the status quo. And I think there's a lot of reasons behind that, but I want to center this video around that specific subject, diving very specifically into how has AI changed dramatically the way that I code and developed apps and software. Diving into that very specifically, the number one thing that I would say up front, the big thing that it has allowed me to do is to become language agnostic, which is huge. So for me, my primary programming language, my native language, if you will, would be Python. It's the language that I'm most familiar with. And if I'm going to code anything, the very first place that I want to start with within it is Python. That's just the easiest for me, easiest to conceptualize all around. And then, so if this were a world of pre-AI, everything that I build would only be Python. I would only start there. But what the biggest advantage that AI has allowed me to do is to iterate through any sort of obstacles that I would run into quickly, and then to be able to determine very quickly whether or not I'm utilizing the right tools for the job through debugging and things like that. So a lot of people say that AI usage increases your debugging time, and then that was true for a while. But now my debugging time has significantly decreased as a result of AI. So I'll give you a very in-depth example of this. I've been very recently kind of very obsessed with forms. And there's a lot of reasons behind that, right? Like to me, the entire legal industry is built off of this concept of forms and whether or not you can fill out a form. And then so within that, I want to make AI able to fill out these forms quite simply. And then so I've been diving into the problems associated with this. And there's a lot more problems that you would realize, and it's a lot more complex to get a model to fill out a form than you would actually realize. And then, so the very first thing that I do is I went through and I played around with this in Python. And in Python, there's a lot of images and a lot of different ways that you can attempt to solve this problem. And I can, spoiler alert, I can tell you up front that I've gone through every single one of these packages, and they all have issues within it as to being able to actually fully extract out what you want and what you need in every single instance. And then so we can see here that we're already running into our first problem here, right? And this, uh, that might be cool. And even within this, we're still running into our first problem within this. So, so I run through. This is called this first one that I'm attempting is called PyPDF. And then so the very first thing that I want to do, I'm just taking a PDF file. In this instance, I'm taking in a standard. This is called an FL300, which is a standard form in family law cases. And then I want to essentially extract the fields from this form. And then, so very simplistically, that's what I do. I upload the form and I create a Python code to extract the form and to extract the fields from the form. But then you can see here, immediately I'm getting errors. So warning, generic data structures, read errors, and I'm getting all kinds of these read errors, right? And then, but it does spit out the data, but I'm getting these read errors. These read errors are going to become extremely important within this because what these read errors are going to do for me is they're going to prevent me from actually being able to write anything back to these files because I'm not going to be able to resolve these errors. And I can tell you and go through. You can see here I have at this point PyPDF4 instead of PyPDF2. And so I go through lots of different ways to attempt to try to solve these errors. But the bottom line is that we're going to continue to hit these errors no matter what. See? seek of a closed file because this file has encryption on it. There's a lot of issues that end up coming out as a result of these forms that you don't think about, right? And then so I went through and I spent a lot of time debugging this within Python, like maybe an hour or two. And my old school approach would be to 100% do that. Like, so this would be the next day I'd be continuing to debug in Python and go through. But after debugging this for about an hour or so, I realized maybe Python isn't exactly the best approach for this. And then we can see it does actually fill out our form here. Let's take a look and see what it actually gave us. It gave us something as an output, interestingly enough. But it is a completely blank and one-page form. This is not useful for us whatsoever. And then so that's what I kept running into at the end of the day. I would get it, it would actually produce an output, but it's running into these errors on these outputs. And then piecing through, going through, the bottom line is that like no matter what I do within this instance for these particular PDF files in Python, it's just not the way to do it. And then, so what you can see here, so what I started experimenting then with is, so Node.js is or React is a combination of like JavaScript and HTML and other languages that are not my native languages, right? But so I start going through this and I start walking through this with Chat GPT, and then these are the errors that I'm running in. How exactly would you go about doing this? And then Chat GPT recommends that I build out a React Native app. So I build that. And I go through and I know how to do this within my environment because I've built out React Native apps at this point and gone through. So I'm in my terminal. I have my app.js and my form.html. So I've got my app all created. I'm now into the folder structure that I need to be in. And then I just launch my app here. And then it launches my app here on my local host. And then we're beautiful HTML that we can see here, and then we could modify. And then I can do here, I'm going to just pick random forms and values, and then I submit that. And then we get an output of a filled form, maybe at some point. I can show you a previous example that I have here. So you can see I've run through previous examples of this, right? And the iterations that I've run that are one page of autofilled, right? And then this is an example of it actually filling out. And if we go through, it's going to take me a while to actually find one of the ones of the successful tests that I've had here. But next step is that I've been able to produce a successful test out of this. The code at this point, it is not cooperating fully. Maybe this one, not this one. You can see I've run through this like quite a few times at this point. There we go. So this is my first attempt, and then this is what I was actually able to get it to write. And then this is within JavaScript, so I can get it to like write back. But then I wasn't able to get it to actually populate the PDF. So in this instance, I knew I could actually get it to write, but then now it's going through and actually going through the errors of this PDF and the back and forth, right? And so I spent maybe another hour or two on this, and then this is where I'm at now within this particular app. And then so overall, is this a functional app and like a business ready app at the moment? No, absolutely not, right? But this is a lot of progress that I have made to just AI without AI debugging on my own. With debugging on my own, I'd still be here in Python, right? As opposed to here, which is where I want to be. And this is a lot more of a step closer. And then also too, just giving you like another step that I've added within this and how I've been able to utilize these processes. So you can see here, I've actually went through and I utilized ChatGPT to literally map out every single field in this form, all of the associations, the explanation of the mapping, etc. So when I build this out more and more, I have all of this information that I've been able to utilize. I've essentially been building out this app on the back end with ChatGPT. and essentially utilizing that, right? And then so this is essentially an extraction of that PDF file, the FL300 form that we've been looking at here, which is about 4 pages. And then this extraction is 44 pages because this is like literally all of the backend code that is encoded into that. And then so it gives me all of the form fields, all the names of the fields, all of the placements of the fields, etc. And then so that's what I've been utilizing at this point to actually fill out my form. So now it's a combination of this knowledge that I gained here from mapping out how exactly the form works, and then the form field mappings, and then going through here and adjusting my app.js to reflect that, and then my form.html to reflect the different fields that I want to populate. And then at the end, I'll have a completed app. So you can see here, I've gone through a lot different steps with regards towards building, debugging, etc. All of these steps that I would not have gone through if it weren't for AI overall, right? If it weren't for AI overall, this would be a Python app and a Python process for me, plain and simple. But at this point, I've tested this out in Python, C++, C#, Go, and React, right? And then I've found that React is the best instance for what I actually want to utilize within this. What I found, and surprisingly, was that Go is actually surprisingly effective for this particular, what I'm looking at here, but very hard for me to turn it into an app. I don't know how I would turn it into an app, but getting it to read the PDF files, Go was actually my best approach. And then so it's like a step above, right? It's a new and entirely different way to tackle these problems that didn't exist before. I couldn't tell you that Go was the best solution for this before, because I would have zero ability whatsoever to be able to code this out in Go and to test that for you on the fly, right? But so it's these being able to test things, assumptions on the fly, and the programming language isn't the obstacle. It's more just a matter of fitting in the correct puzzle pieces and then understanding that the programming languages themselves act as puzzle pieces within this instance completely changes the game around all of this. And these are the types of things that I don't think that a lot of people are diving deep into when it comes to AI at this point, and how exactly is it game changing. I'm giving you the roadmap right here. If you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.